Welcome back to Command Stack. This is Ryan, and today we have a very exciting discussion of the top 4 lists at the English Championships of 2026. This tournament was played just a couple of days ago, so this is hot meta tournament information from across the pond that we are going to get to you. It's just me today. I'm going to do a quick rundown of the top 4 lists. There are some familiar names at the top here. There were just some basics to get started here. There were 17 players. They were using ARC rules, and looks like it was a 4-round tournament. So 4 rounds is really ideal for if you can crunch the time. 4 rounds is really the ideal for a single day tournament to get in. If you're doing if you can only do 3 rounds, I really recommend trying to do a team tournament. It really helps reduce the variance in the matchups and in just the variance that you get from 3 rounds. So without further ado, let's just get going. In 4th place, we have a Rebel list from Galerius. If you don't know Galerius, he's one of the leading English organizers and players. He flew a Radis list, near and dear to my heart. His flagship, which is often essential in determining what kind of flagship you're going with, was an MC-30 torpedo frigate. So very tough nut to crack. So we had expert shield techs, ordnance experts, electronic countermeasures, external racks, H9 turbo lasers, and foresight. What you're getting there is you're getting a ship that will get to the drop and not die. With the expert shield techs, you're getting enough anti-squadron damage that you're going to be okay, even if the other player has full squads. With foresight and ECM combinations, you're going to get enough anti-ship firepower that even if you're facing like an onager, or if you happen to misfly, I should say, and fly into a Star Destroyer, you're going to be able to ECM and evade, and use an evade, dump 2 dice at, hopefully you didn't fly into medium, but dump 2 dice, and you will be able to survive the damage. And so that's what that ship is doing. It's built to get your ship into the drop range. Very solid choice for a drop ship for Radis. Then he has 2 GR75s, both with CommsNet, one with Hondo. Good for getting tokens. And then here's his drop. So he's got the MC-75 armored cruiser with profundity. He's got Whalix and boarding troopers, and what's great about that is the armored cruiser with boarding troopers. It gets that extra squadron value of 3, and so you are, with anything you're hitting, even if you're hitting a Starhawk or a Super Star Destroyer, you're getting 3 tokens that get to go red with the boarding troopers. So it's an excellent vehicle for boarding troopers. And with Radis, it means you're going to get into close range. So boarding troopers, electronic countermeasures, H9s, leading shots for rerolls. Leading shots now at 5 points is, I would really like people to start looking at it for rerolls. 5 points is a great bargain. External racks is 4 points, just for some extra dice to throw in there. Very solid build for the MC-75. And then he likes to go with the Hammerhead Corvette as his drop after profundity. So he goes with Geralt's Honor, ordnance experts, and external racks. Very solid. He doesn't go with a Shriv build. He prefers the rerolls on ordnance experts. What we've been seeing lately with Radis is a lot of people go with either a boarding trooper or a Shriv build with the weapons team slot. The boarding trooper is useful on a Hammerhead because you only get 1 defense token that you can exhaust. But if it's an ISD, you're talking 1 you're talking the brace that will get exhausted, and then you're following that up with the MC75. So you're guaranteeing basically that the IST won't get to brace against the MC75's hopefully double arced shot. Or if it's Shriv, you will have yanked off the ECM of that ISD, and then you're following up with an H9 of H9, which will give you an accuracy hopefully on an MC75. And H9 turbo lasers and MC75s go really well together. There's lots of red and blue dice that should help you yield an accuracy. But he didn't go here. He went for the ordnance experts to really get the damage output, which is useful in its own right because it just getting raw damage out forces you to expend forces you to expend your tokens, or you're just taking damage otherwise. And then for squadrons, goes with the classic Shard Tycho. He winds up at 388 points, which would be a 12-point bid, which is pretty much where you need to be for Radis, I think, these days. Huge, it's just about as big a bid as you need, just 12 points. I don't think we were going to see, except for a couple of players, we're not going to see big bids. What I really like is that this is a 5 activation Radis. I think Radis really shines if you can get up to 5 activations, because once you drop, you are deleting a ship, and you will have 2 or sometimes even 3 activation advantage once you delete that first ship after the drop. All right, in 3rd place, we have Reese. Reese was in the top 8 at Worlds last year with his Onager and Victory Star Destroyer fleet. I just talked about him at the Battle of Endor with that same fleet. He went in a different direction with a Republic fleet. Excellent player. He went with an Anakin Skywalker fleet, so looks very different than his kind of 2-ship Imperial fleet. So his Anakin Skywalker fleet was a Venator 2 with Anakin on it, Clone Captain Zach, Clone Gunners, SFAT, Thermal Shields, X-Rax, XI7s, and Tranquility. So you can kind of see Reese still likes that one heavy gunboat kind of ship that just between Zach, Clone Gunners, SFATs, X-Rats, and XI7s is just a ton of firepower. He follows it up with, 4 Counselor armed cruisers, which are kind of like the B variant, I guess, of the Counselors, which are the blue dice variants. Each one, except for 3 of them, have Clone Navigation Officer and X-Rax. And because they're just a single dial ship, you can get them where they need to go, and then maybe even con fire. And so you're talking about a lot of firepower with X-Rax, and hopefully you're double arcing on that large ship that you're trying to get to. You have the Clone Navigation Officer as well for sharing tokens. The other armed cruiser has just external racks. It doesn't have the points for Clone Navigation Officer. So the main ships are, and then he rounds out squadrons with 4 V19s, which is an interesting squadron build. I would always kind of prefer to get token aces in. You can get 2 Jedis in there, and I think I would probably prefer that, but maybe he just wanted the extra deployment advantage with getting in 4 instead of 2 squadrons in. And maybe that was his, maybe he feels more comfortable getting that deployment in. And you do kind of need that with this fleet, so that could explain it. But Reese, excellent player. 5 ships with Anakin is pretty light. Usually you see 6, 7. Excuse me for that. In ships with Anakin, and so he's really got to fly them pretty precisely, because you're not going to have that big of an activation advantage on your opponent with just 5. But if he can get them and fly them well, he is in a terrific position to put a solid round of firepower And he obviously did pretty well with this build, getting third. He also had a big build, a big bid, excuse me. He had an 11-point bid, so he came in at 389. So pretty big bid. To me, that suggests he wants to go first. I'd be interested to know from Reese whether that was actually the case, whether he prefers second. But I think he probably wanted to go first. So, but very interesting. Good to see that Gar is competitive. And this might be one of the builds to play around with. People have always, Anakin can be pretty scary with consistent damage from the rerolls that Anakin gives you. In second place, we should all know this name, James McCartney, one of the best players in the world. He is the 2023, let me see if I get that right, 2023 world champion. Let's see, so 25 was this year, and 24 was Peter. So 2023 was James McCartney. So he's a world champion 2 years ago, 2 or 3 depending on how you look at it, I guess. But world champion nonetheless. One of the best players in the world. Flying Separatists. When he was a world champion, he flew as Imperials, flying an Onager interdictor list, if I remember correctly. But this time around, he was flying a Grievous list. So a Grievous 134 list. Or no, a Grievous 114 list, I should say. So he was flying a Recusant Support Destroyer. So that's the 90-point destroyer. That's interesting. That generally when you see the 90-point one, you are thinking probably that's going to be pushing fighters, since that has the extra squadron value of 3 instead of 2. And sure enough, that's almost certainly what he was doing, because he has flight controllers, boosted comms, and expanded hangar bay. So he with expanded hangar bay, he gets that extra squadron value up to 4. With Tykes, he probably gets it up to 5. And then he's got Sand Hill on another ship, so he gets it even higher. So what's that? So he gets it up to 4, 5 with a token, and then with Sand Hill, you're pushing 6 fighters, which is really cool. So that Patriot's Fist is pushing, in an optimal scenario, 6 flight-controlled fighters. And then you follow that up with a Patriot's Fist shot, which is super cool. That is a super powerful activation. I really like what he did there. So to complete the Recusant build, it's Grievous, Tykes, flight controllers, boosted comms, expanded hangar bay, XI7, Patriot's Fist. Then he went with the Munificent class command frigate, which is the ARC variant. This is one of the new. This is really the first ARC piece that we have seen. It's coming in at 74 points at the base version. It has thermal shields, linked turbo laser towers, and here's the key: bomber command center. So he gets the kind of a beefy, useful warship, but he gets that BCC, and he gets the linked turbo laser towers, which is interesting. And munis really have been struggling. You really haven't seen them on the table lately. At Worlds, they were virtually nowhere to be seen, and they have really struggled to find a place. Maybe this new variant from ARC will find a place. Maybe James has cracked a bit of a code with the Bomber Command Center. That'll be interesting to find out. And then James has 2 Gazantes. One of them, as I said, has Sand Hill. Then it comes down to the fighter ball. So he's got the DBS 404 Hyena. Importantly, that's the one that can throw the 3 red dice. He's got Django, and he's got the Aflac droid Tri-Fighter. That's the one where if you end your fighter in engagement, you take 1 auto damage, which I frankly struggle to fly against that fighter. I think he's really difficult to fly around, and I end up just taking a lot of auto damage against him. He's really good. And 3 Vultures, and then 3 Hyena droid bombers, for a total squadron value of 114 points. I'm sure James would have loved to have found the points for another, kind of a 4x4 build of 4 vultures and 4 hyenas. He just doesn't have the points here. Because what he's doing in this massive activation is this massive 5 or 6 activation with Sandhill and Tykes, is to send in if the other fleet has a fighter ball, send in the vultures, send in Affleck, maybe send in Django with the flight controllers, finish off that ball, and then in the next round, send in the hyenas. And then you're really in a lot of trouble at that point. I have not considered this type of build before. I think it's really innovative. I love what he's done to make kind of a carrier Patriot Fist. Really cool. I also love XI7s on Patriot Fists. It's an upgrade I want to see on all Patriot Fists. If you want to deal with MSU, you just need to be taking XI7s, and this is like the anti-MSU build, Patriot Fist with XI7. So I think there's going to be a ton of Patriot Fist XI7s at Worlds. So just buckle up, be prepared to deal with that if you're going to be at Worlds. He only had a 2-point bid for 398. I think this fleet would be happy playing first or second, and James usually is happy playing first or second. And then in first place was an absolutely bananas list, unlike anything that I really have seen ever. A lot of interesting different upgrades used very interestingly, and I don't really know how he flew it, but I have an idea looking at just kind of how it's built. This is by Daniel Smizzy. And so I don't know exactly who that is. I don't know if that... so I apologize. I don't know if... I don't know who that is short for. I'm sure I probably know who that is in the community. It's not ringing a bell. So sorry, Daniel. But they took an Ozzel fleet, and they put Ozzel on an Architans light cruiser, which we all know has gone down to 52 points. And we always were like, maybe that was a mistake going down to 52 points. And I think that was AMG who kind of nudged it down to 52 points. And we're like, you can even go back to old Command Stack episodes, and I'm like, I don't know, 52 points, that's really a bargain. And so he's got Ozzel, Nita, and TRCs on that Architans. And then another one, he's got another Architans. He's got Krennic, Slave Turrets, and Centaur. And Centaur is really interesting because it kind of serves as like a super relay. Centaur is interesting. Tok'ra popularized Centaur as kind of this super relay ship when he won Worlds in 2019. And he kind of put Centaur on the map. It was on the map before, but no one had ever, had as much success as he did when he won Worlds in 2019 with Centaur. So everyone go take a look at Centaur. It is back. It is, and I'll tell you what they're doing with it, what I think he's doing with it. And then he's got he's got a demo, Glad 1, with Iden, Ordnance Experts, Engine Techs, External Racks, classic demo build. And then he's got a Gazanti with Hondo, munitions resupply, and expanded hangar for helping to push squads. Because remember, through Centaur, it's kind of the super relay. He can push squads through the Gazanti. And so that's kind of what he's doing. He's got it's a really interesting threat structure. He's got these 4 activations. He's got the big hammer with demo. He's got an Architans with TRCs, Architans with slave turrets, and Krennic can really hit at a long distance and throw out some damage. But it all working together is kind of how I think this fleet works. And then it comes down to the fighter ball, which is the most significant portion. So here's where it comes together. He's got Darth Vader, TIE Defender, Colonel Jendon, Merrick Steel. So there's your big damage. He's got Tell to soak to soak any other fighter balls. He's got Tel Trevura. Then he's got Saber Squadron, the best, one of the best generic or unique squadrons in the game, non-token unique squadrons in the game. He's got a TIE Interceptor and 2 TIE Fighters. So he's got 8 fighters for 125, and this all works together. And I think how it works is he kind of plays the keep away game, probably similar to how Tok'ra played, would be my guess. But Tok'ra didn't. I don't think Tok'ra had a gladiator. Tok'ra had a 5 activation. He had a Quasar, Raider, and an Architans, and 2 Gazlantes. But I do think that this is, and he used Squall to kind of control your area, an engagement zone. This wants to use his ships to fight, and so it is pretty different in that respect. But he's using Ozzel for his speed control as well, in addition to it being cheap, right? To fit in all these pieces. He's only got a 4-point bid. Happy going first or second, especially with all those fighters. And so I think he's really using his decent red dice with Ozzel to help engagement control and range control, to fight the battle when he wants to. I know that kind of sounds elementary, but I think that's what's going on here. And he can kind of pick off what he wants when he wants. I'm going to take a look at kind of what level of, let's see what he did. So on his fleets, he had a huge MOV of 783. So he had a 7, a 9, a 6, and then he walloped in round 4 for a 10. So he beat Reese in round 3, which we previously talked about. Reese got 3rd. He got a 6 with a 254 to 214 MOV. And so looking at his games, he either fought or farmed in all of them. And so when I'm looking at their MOV, what I mean by that is he scored. There were games. There weren't any non-games in this. And what I mean by that is it wasn't 0-0s or anything like that. So there was engagement. And I'm thinking he used Ozzel to engage on his terms. I would love to know more about how this fleet flew. It is so fascinating, and it just goes to show you that people are still coming up with new things. I have never seen a fleet like this. I have never seen a fleet like this at all. And Architans with Krennic and Slave Turrets and Centaur is so cool. And that's only 69 points, which is really nice. And for putting out a ton of firepower, but also to use that as your super relay is super cool. It's just one of the beautiful things about Armada. People have been playing this game for almost a decade now. And, oh yeah, over a decade. And we are still coming up with new stuff. A lot of these tools have been out for a long time. The latest update kind of lowered the price of the cruiser, the latest AMG update, I should say, lowered the price of the armed cruiser. But other than that, Jendon got more expensive. But these are not new tools. Everything here has been around, and this is a really innovative list. I would love to know how it's been flying, but people are still coming up with new ways to build a fleet and fly and have fun. These are 4. This is a 4 activation small ship list that won a tournament in one, I think, and really which is a large ship kind of meta. So pretty cool. So congratulations to Daniel, and congratulations to the English, who had a nice 17-person English Championships at the Sanctuary Gaming Center in Sutton in Ashfield. So congratulations to them. Hope everyone enjoyed this latest command stack, and hopefully it sounds a little bit better than the last one did. I do apologize for that last one, and I'm going to sign off, and here's to the next Miss Act. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it.